Hey everybody, it's Don again. It is time for episode 10 of Practical Reality. You can see we have quite a different setting here today. It's snowing out, and man, I love it. And I just want to make an allusion back to my last video about achieving presence. If you want to achieve presence, go out in the snowstorm. I don't know why, but I've always had, for many, many years, I've always had the feeling of like I'm communing with nature when I walk in a snowstorm. It's so beautiful. I love it so much. My neck's getting cold. I'm getting snowed on. I do have the hat on. That's protecting my head, but that's fine. I love it. I'm going to make this video. I'm going to go home and warm up, and I'm going to put it online, and hopefully I'll get some people to watch it. Now, in the last 3 videos, I first talked about existentialism and why it's the philosophy that the world lives by. Then I talked about the loss of self-respect that comes with the acceptance of existentialism. In the last video, I talked about how you can overcome that loss of self-respect and achieve presence and happiness. And today I'm going to try to apply that philosophy to the workplace. How many posts do I see on LinkedIn, like all the time, talking about what makes a good work culture? Well, I've got my own idea on that. Let me first give you some background. I've worked in a lot of places. I've worked for large companies. I've worked for small companies, mostly small companies. And in the small companies, I couldn't say that we had a work culture. There was no culture, so to speak, stated or anything like that. You came into work, you sat down at your desk, you worked every day, you went home. That was it. You talked to some people. That was it. Once in a while on a birthday or something like that, they made you a cake, this kind of thing. And maybe if you were lucky, you had a little gathering and everybody ate the cake together, and that's about it. But there was no culture. And then you have the sort of like the other end of the spectrum with large companies like, Facebook and Amazon and, the big 7. They all talk about their cultures and what they offer, and they have like gyms and ping pong tables and, all kinds of shared facilities and this kind of thing. And if they tout that as their work culture. And then what do? They turn around and they axe thousands of people in one day, and they talk about underperformers and blah, blah, blah. And they call that work culture. To me, that's the antithesis of work culture. That isn't work culture. That's servitude. That is like, working under the cloud of Damocles' sword at the top of your head at all times. You can't, that's not culture. That's not work culture. That's instilled fear. You can't work under those conditions. You can't be productive. Now, the only other factor that outweighs that is that if you love what you do, then yes. And if you're working in an office with a bunch of people who are supportive, then yes, then that can work, okay? But there's still always that cloud hanging over your head that makes you wonder whether or not you're going to be there next week. That's not culture. That's not security. That's not helping people grow. That's not investing in them, okay? When you walk in on the first day, and I've seen pictures on LinkedIn of the posts. You walk in on the first day and they have something on the desk for you, like a welcome package and this kind of thing. That's all wonderful, okay? And I hope that makes the person feel great, and it gives them a sense of hope. But how many companies have I worked in before, and how many times have I heard the exact same thing from other people? When you actually sit down at a company and you're there for the first month or so, and then what happens? You get what I call the big disillusionment. You find out that the company's not really the great paradise for work that you thought it was going to be, because something happens, or you see the real underside of the company that shows you that they don't really take employees seriously, that your voices aren't heard, that there is no real culture. So, in my opinion, how are you going to create culture? The culture should be created by the people. There shouldn't be a mandate from management on creating culture. That's not culture. Culture isn't dictated. Culture is created. Culture is created by the people who work there. So how are you going to create a good work culture? You're going to have a meeting about it. You're going to engage. You're going to say, okay, this is the environment in which we work. How are we going to make it acceptable for all of us? And then you work towards that goal. There shouldn't be any mandate about what the work culture is going to be. It should simply be sort of an ongoing creation, something that everybody participates in, something that everybody contributes to. Everybody makes suggestions as to how you're going to improve the work culture. Now, of course, if work culture means, to management means that you sit down at your desk at 8:30 and you get up at 5 and go home, and there's nothing else in between except for maybe a half-hour lunch break, then that's not culture either. So, and I'm not saying, the reason I'm mentioning that is because I don't want anybody to think that what I'm advocating for work culture is a whole bunch of people laying around doing nothing all day. I'm not saying that either. But there should be some sort of activities that, help build sort of like a team atmosphere. Now, I've also been part of companies where they did that. They had, like little get-togethers where they played games or, they had a good discussion, that kind of stuff. It was fine. That's fine. But that's not really work culture either, because did they ask anybody what they wanted to do? What kind of, activity they wanted to participate in? Was there any input before that was decided? No, not at all. So that's what culture is to me. Culture should be a creation of the community. Ask people what they want for culture. Find out what motivates them to work. To be in a culture that encourages productivity, that makes people want to, like I said in a previous video, walk through fire for you. Make them so motivated, so engaged with you that they want to make this contribution. When I referred to in a previous video the 3 E's of management: engagement, empathy, and empowerment. The creation of the culture should involve all 3 of those: engagement, empathy, and empowerment. That's how you create a culture. Using those 3 E's is going to create a culture with people in it who want to work hard for you and enjoy coming to work. If they enjoy the work they do, that's fine. But if you create a culture that doesn't allow for people to feel like they're part of a community, then you're wasting their time. I have to scrape some of the snow off the lens here. So, how are you going to do that? Okay? Like I said, get input from people. Make it so that everybody feels like they've contributed to the creation of this culture. That's how you do it. And I don't think there's I'm not sure how many companies out there actually do that. There's so many posts on LinkedIn that I see all the time about what culture is and how they're going to create it, this kind of thing. But do you actually see any companies actually taking up these suggestions? I see no companies posting about how they've, created culture through contribution, participation. I just see that they say that this is our culture, blah, blah, blah. And how many job descriptions do I see all the time about, you have to be a cultural fit for this organization. Cultural fit, what does it mean? It's just a buzzword. It has no meaning if there's no substance behind it. That's what really, as Peter Griffin says, grinds my gears about something like that. Because when you see that kind of post, that job description, we're looking for a cultural fit. Well, define the culture. The culture is productive people who work hard all the time. That's not culture. That's garbage. That's complete garbage. People don't take that seriously. And people are smart enough these days when they can see right through that stuff. They don't take that seriously. They're never going to take that seriously. They're going to see right through that and say, okay, that means these people aren't serious about building, about cultivating me, about cultivating my career, which is why you have job hopping every couple of years, especially in young people, because they don't see any culture being built. They see an employer exploiting them for as much of their talent as they can possibly get and paying them as little as possible. That's it. So that's not culture. So work culture needs to change. And work culture doesn't need to be just 2 words that mean nothing. Work culture needs to mean something where people come to work every day and they say, yes, I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to be with the people I work with, and I'm glad to see that we are making an effort to engage everyone and advance their careers and cultivate them as people and make them feel as if they are self-actualizing. Now, real quick, what does that mean? Self-actualizing. It's the top of Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Self-actualization is the realization of your potential. That's exactly how every work culture should be. Making people feel as if they are realizing their potential. So that's why I see when these return to office mandates, that is such garbage. That is such garbage. To think that management has so little faith in you that you have to be treated like a child in order to work for that company. We don't trust you to work from home. You're going to be staying home. You're not going to be working hard. I remember I've said this in other videos, when I worked for Amazon, I made my own hours. I was productive. I fulfilled all the goals they set for me, all the KPIs which they set out. And I loved it. And I worked hard. And I had a manager who was great, treated me really well, showed me what good management was. And then there were other managers who had no idea what they were doing. And you had people coming and going. That's not work culture. So you want to create a work culture, and then you want to say, okay, we're going to let you work from home for a while. Then all of a sudden you turn around and upend thousands of lives saying, oh no, now they got to come back to the office. And why are they bringing them back to the office? Because the real estate is empty and they're paying rent on it. And it's millions of dollars in expenses that are going onto a report. And the upper management is saying, the CEOs are saying, well, why are we paying for this empty building? So they want to bring people back, right? That's the main reason. They don't really care about you. They care about the dollars they're spending. And that's not culture, okay? Money, as I said in my last video, rules the world, but you have to rule your own world. And the way you rule your own world is through your own self-love. And if you have to feel like you're being manipulated into returning to an office just because the real estate is empty and it's worth something, then that company values that real estate more than you, then you shouldn't be working there. That's all there is to it. And if you are skilled enough, you will find a new job, because even in this economy, there are jobs out there for people who are motivated and who are talented. And if you don't see yourself as doing the best job that you can and having the greatest talent that you can have, that you can offer people, then you need to take a close look at yourself. Because every day, this is how you should be thinking about yourself. Visualizing what you have. Not pretending. Visualizing that you have it already. That is the key. That is the key to the meditation practice that I was talking about just a couple of days ago. When you're achieving presence, you visualize having already what you are desiring. Even Jesus said that when you pray, you should be praying as if you have what you're asking for already. That is as old a teaching as civilization itself. So that's why creating a work culture should be a place where somebody can go to feel as if they are being cultivated, and they can feel like they are self-actualizing in an environment that is encouraging. That's what work culture should be. And I hope that people will listen to this and speak up. And one more point on that subject, speaking up. I talked about in another video how people sometimes are in meetings and they don't talk. The meeting is silent. And I made a joke about how I always used to speak up in meetings. But why are those meetings silent? Because the culture has not been created where people can feel like they can speak without being either ridiculed or questioned, or it makes them look bad. That's not culture. That's when a meeting is silent, you know that the work culture there is not productive, is not creative, is not encouraging. And that's a really bad thing. And that's not going to help people. And as long as you have an organization like that, you are not getting the most you can out of the people that you have there. So I'm returning to my car, and I'm going to show you the snow. Just a quick second here. It's coming down. It looks beautiful. I love it so much. I'm going home to warm up and have some lunch. I hope everybody has a great Saturday, and wherever you are, peace, happiness, and prosperity. If you like this video, please send me some comments, subscribe, and listen. I hope that you all enjoy this beautiful day.